I'm Julie Berninger. I'm a 30-year-old new mom living in Seattle, Washington. By day, I'm a tech professional, and at night, I'm a super side hustler. I'm also on the path to financial independence with the hope of retiring early.
That is an awesome, just very concise intro. That's maybe the best one that I've heard. So you are a podcaster, and how many shows have you done at this point?
Close to 200 shows.
Amazing. And I'm just curious, like when you first started the podcast, did you know it was going to lead you like into 200 shows and probably talk to hundreds of different people?
No, I started the podcast because I wanted access to some of the people in my niche that I thought were just so amazing. And once you have a podcast, you have value to offer them and you have a platform where you can interview them and ask them any questions you want because no one will answer you if you say, "Hey, can I buy you coffee and pick your brain anymore?" But if you have a podcast, you can do just that. And it has led me to meet some really incredible people and definitely improve my own life and helped supercharge my side hustles.
Fantastic. It's very cool. And I was perusing some of the earlier interviews, and you got some big hitters right away. Do you have any like, I guess, like tips for people to be able to land like really big guests early on?
I went to conferences for years before I started the podcast. So I already knew people in the industry. Also, I would say when you're walking into a situation like that, don't use your time with meeting someone who may be perceived as bigger than you to get them to analyze your personal situation. Because a lot of people will go up to someone that's really big in the community and ask them 50 million questions, and that they don't remember you after that. They just remember like, oh, this person wanted me to go over their taxes in the 5 minutes that we had. Um, so I would say add value, be a normal person, make connections in person, and that's the way that you can land some bigger people when you start.
One thing that I ask people, especially in your position where you have a tech background, I do as well. Office Space was very influential for me as I sort of went down my corporate journey. And I know it's a cult classic, but some people are not into it, as I'm finding, which seems weird to me. But do you have a favorite scene from Office Space?
Okay, I don't because the first time I watched it, it was too much. It was too real. I can't go back there. I just need to move forward. It's like the walls are closing in on me. But
Okay.
truthfully, I work at a large tech company and it feels very progressive. It doesn't feel like totally office spacey, but there's no way you can escape some of the main stereotypes.
Okay. So I may have to shift that question a little bit as I'm finding some people are like, ah, you know what? It was too real or blah, blah, blah. But for whatever reason, it was the group of consultants that I was with like early in my career, and we watched it all the time. And then I'm sure it led to us being like not satisfied with our day jobs for a little while. So let's go back. Let's go back in time a little bit. And I was doing some research for this interview, and I saw a couple articles about moving west, and maybe you're a little happier that you've moved west. So where are you from? Like, what's your story? How did you end up in Seattle?
Sure. So I am an East Coast person by heart and by personality, but now I'm living on the West Coast and it has been the best thing I've ever done. Completely chilled me out. Well, okay, as much as you can chill out someone that's from Boston, there's always a little masshole rage that we have in us that we're trying to work out. But I lived in Colorado first, and that was actually for back in 2012. It was an internship for the US Olympic Committee as I was leading up to the London Olympic Games. So that was my first kind of foray into digital marketing. I got the internship completely based on a website that I had built myself, unrelated to school or internships or anything I'd ever done. And I was an intern after I'd already had a full-time job. So it kind of felt like I was going backwards in life to be an intern again. But who can say no when you're part of the Olympic Games and something as big as that? Living at the Olympic Training Center, it was amazing. So from there, it went from Colorado to ended up in California, working in big tech in Silicon Valley. I ended up missing the chill vibes of Colorado, so I've landed in Seattle, Washington, where I still get my tech, but I get access to the outdoors and a little bit slower pace of life and slightly less cost of living.
I've moved west too, so I'm from the southeast, from the Atlanta area, and then it found our way to Montana. Which have you been to Montana? Have you spent much time there?
I've been to Bozeman. Yes.
I lived in Bozeman. It is fantastic. A little chilly in the winter, but yeah. Did you just visit the area?
So my passion is this online stuff. My husband loves music and fitness. So we went to an acoustic guitar festival in Bozeman, Montana, And he's been to so many conferences with me. I had to go to one with him, and they actually made me go on stage and sing and like strum a guitar, and I had no idea what I was doing. So
Really?
now I feel like you owe me one, Doug. Like I,
Yeah.
yeah,
Your husband's name is
his
Doug
name's Doug
as
too.
well. It's a good
Yeah.
name. And that I know what you're talking about. Tony Policastro, and he
Yep.
does. Yep, that's crazy. Huge digital marketer and like acoustic, like guitar master. So
Oh yes, I actually watch the videos with my husband now just to see what Tony's doing in terms of how he's setting everything up. He has a podcast, he has a membership site, all of that.
and I signed up geeking out on like digital marketing and funnels. I signed up just to see his funnel, and it's like fantastic. And Bozeman's a small town, so you would see him like grabbing sushi or like just doing normal stuff that people do in Bozeman. So small world, very
Yeah.
strange.
Yeah, he's definitely a celebrity in that community.
And where in Colorado did you live?
We lived in Colorado Springs, but I worked in Denver.
Okay, what is that, like an hour commute
It's
or
about an
so?
hour. Yeah, it's not so bad.
Okay, and it was a cool job. How long were you in the area here?
I was in Colorado for almost 5 years. And then that's when I realized if I want to be serious about working in tech, I have to go where tech happens. And Silicon Valley is where it is.
And another interesting thing, because I'm sure some people are thinking, hey, like you're working in tech, there's big salaries there, but you didn't start there. Can you tell us a little bit of, your journey from like a liberal arts degree to the position you're in now?
Sure. So I graduated college with a political science major, and I approached college like what your parents' worst nightmare, like basket weaving. I did all of that. Anything I found interesting, I would take a college class on it because I thought I was a scholar and I was learning all these worldly things. Did not understand that you get paid for skills. And yes, like I learned critical thinking and writing and things that have served me well, but I did not have any concrete skills to sell to an employer. And when I graduated in 2011, post recession, that was not a good time to be skillless on your resume. So my first job out of college, I had the whole summer where I moped around with my friends and lived back with my parents, living in the basement. It was an absolute nightmare. Because for me, before that, I went to a prestigious university. So I thought that I was doing everything right. And it turns out that I had no idea what I was doing in life. I was doing everything wrong. And that's when I started a blog about study abroad. And all of my major opportunities have came from that one situation where I started this website and it all kind of took off. And that's where I learned that if you want anything in life, no one's going to hand it to you. You have to create it yourself by doing the work every day.
The prestigious university, was it in Boston?
It was in Western Mass.
Oh,
It
okay,
was a
cool.
small liberal arts college.
Okay. I've heard a lot of people that they went to Harvard and they're like, oh, I went to school in Boston, and then they just try and like move on. So
No, my boss used to do that, and we're like, Dave, you went to Harvard. Like
yeah,
you can tell everyone.
yeah.
No,
It's like,
this is
come
a
on.
small liberal arts college that not many people know, but in the East Coast, I've noticed it's kind of all about like where you go to school. West Coast, no one cares. It's like, can you code? That's what moves the needle. But East Coast, it's very about the schools. That's like a societal currency.
You paid off a huge amount of debt, and I guess you found your way into the fire community, like maybe through that route. Can you tell us what's the headline for that?
Sure. So my husband and I have paid off over $100,000 of debt since we got married. We married for love and not money. So both this realized that we were in massive debt together and we're trying to crawl our way out. I Googled a bunch of things. I found someone, he actually did go to Harvard. It was nomoreharvarddebt.com. His website no longer exists, but he chronicled how he was paying off his debt step by step. And I tried to emulate him as much as I could. So we sold everything on Craigslist. We had purchased a home because I had gotten a big raise at my first tech job, which wasn't working in big tech, but it was my first opportunity in IT department. And we took that money and I had bought a car and a house. So we had to reverse all of those major spending mistakes and we're able to sell the house. I got a job that paid a little bit better. Well, actually, a lot better because I moved to California and Silicon Valley, and that helped. And then we just sold everything, downsized, and we were able to pay off 90,000. I think it was in 18 months. And then from there, we realized that my parents had taken on student loan debt for my sister and my education. With my parents, we don't talk about money. We never talked about money growing up. So I had no idea that they even had these loans that were for my education. But once I realized that, I became determined to pay off my half, the 50% that I owed them for that too. So that's how we got over $100,000 of debt.
Wow, wow. So growing up, you guys didn't talk about money or budgeting, and you weren't, I guess, taught the skills to do that.
No, my parents always tried their best, and I think they tried being side hustlers. Like my dad, he actually was a DJ, like not a cool DJ, like funky chicken type DJ. That's what he
Right.
did. But he had that side hustle, and he had also tried real estate. So they tried. It just they weren't able to apply their hard work in a place that paid off. And we never talked about money. They felt that kids should be shielded from that and just be kids. But I kind of graduated college with no sense of anything in terms of financial stuff.